might be snowing and freezing, really freezing outside, but at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, do you smell that? It might be winter outside still, but that is the smell, the beautiful smell of Detroit Tigers baseball. We are so close! As I record this video on Monday, February 17th, pitchers and catchers have reported the Tigers' first full squad workout was today, and our first spring training game is coming up this weekend on Saturday. So with that in mind, for my first Tigers video of the 2025 baseball season, let's talk about some storylines I am watching for this baseball team in spring training. If you're looking forward to more Tony D Tiger videos throughout this baseball season, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share to your friends. All that good stuff. Now, without further ado, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about specifically 3 storylines that I'll be watching for the Tigers this spring training. Let's start with number 1, the starting rotation. As we all know, ladies and gentlemen, Tarik Skubal, the reigning, defending American League Triple Crown and unanimous Cy Young, along with Jack Flaherty, welcome back, Jack, and Reese Olson, those 3 are locks for the opening day starting rotation. That leaves 2 spots up for grabs. Alex Cobb would have been another lock, but he's injured. He's not going to be ready to pitch by opening day. So we've got 2 opening day starting rotation spots and about 1 million guys competing for those final 2 spots. As a fan, I'm really intrigued to see who's going to perform well enough and get those final 2 opening day starting rotation spots. Now, with that said, though, ladies and gentlemen, me personally as a Tigers fan, I'm not going to lie to you, there are 2 guys that I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I am really hoping that these 2 emerge from the pack this spring and win those final 2 opening day starting rotation spots. Let's start with Jackson Jobe. I don't think I really need to explain this one. I think every Tigers fan feels the exact same way about him. We are all hoping that Jackson Jobe wins one of those opening day starting rotation spots. Former number 3 overall pick. Many feel like he's the best pitching prospect in baseball today. We saw just a little glimpse of him at the end of 2024 and in the playoffs last season as well. I'm excited for Jackson Jobe. We're all excited for Jackson Jobe. We're all hoping, myself included, that he starts the season in Detroit and in that starting rotation. And then the other guy for me personally is Casey Mize. I know it hasn't been great for him recently since the injury, but it's hard for me to give up on him. He's a number 1 overall pick. I'm hoping that he gets one of those rotation spots as well, and we give him one final opportunity to show us if he can be someone for us. You know, we drafted him number 1 overall. When you draft, especially a pitcher number 1 overall, you're kind of hoping. When we drafted him, let's just call it what it is. When we drafted him, I was kind of hoping he would be our next Justin Verlander. I think that ship has sailed. He probably won't be our next JV, but am I still hoping he can be like a number 3 or 4 for us? Absolutely. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that he can win one of those starting rotation spots this spring, and he gets the opportunity to show us if he can be that potential number 3 or 4. Or if anything, if he can just show us that he can still be a big part to this team and a big part to the starting rotation. I can't give up on him yet. If we give him a shot this year and then he struggles some more, then we can have a conversation about what happens with Casey Mize going forward. Do we move him to the bullpen? Do we just move on from him, period? Like, we can have that discussion if he does struggle this year. But I'm hoping he wins one of those starting rotation spots and gets the opportunity to show us if he can still be someone for this Tigers team, and if he can be someone in the starting rotation going forward. That's the first storyline that I'm watching for the Tigers this spring. Number 2, third base. What's going to happen at third base for this baseball team in 2025? Now, given that's not a question we are necessarily going to get a real answer to in spring, that's more so something we obviously need to watch throughout the regular season, you know? But I'm more so hoping that we are going to get at least a little bit of clarity as to what could happen going into opening day at third base for this team, you know? Now listen, it's no secret that we all wanted Alex Bregman badly this offseason. The Tigers clearly want him badly this offseason too. 6 years? $171 million? Yeah, the Tigers really want him this offseason. We all really want him this offseason. But, hey, he didn't sign with us. He didn't pick us. In fact, he made it pretty clear that he didn't want to be a Tiger. We'll remember that, Alex Bregman. We'll remember that. Anyway, Alex Bregman's not a Tiger. So instead of focusing on someone who isn't a Tiger, let's focus on who we do have. Let's focus on the intriguing options that we do have to play third base potentially for this baseball team in 2025. We've got Matt Vierling. I love Matty V. I am super excited, believe it or not, to watch him in 2025. We got Andy Ibanez, Zach McKinstry. Prospect Hyu Lee is starting to get a lot of praise this spring as well. That's intriguing. But speaking of prospects, I specifically, really quickly, want to talk about this guy, Jace Jung. I'm really interested to see Jace Jung this spring. How is he going to perform? Is he going to perform well enough to get an opening day roster spot? Is third base going to be more of a platoon between him and Matt Vierling? Like, these are all questions I have revolving around Jace Jung specifically. That's what makes him, for me personally, such a fascinating player to watch in this spring training. I feel like people are forgetting that Young pretty recently was a top 100 prospect. And he was a former first-round pick by this Tigers organization, too. I know he had the struggles a little bit at the end of last season after we called him up, but that's because he was hurt. Now he's healthy. If he can get his back going and improve a little bit defensively at third, I think Jace Jung can be a big part of this Tigers team in 2025. So yeah, Jace Jung and just the overall third base question for the Tigers. That's another storyline I'm watching for this spring training. One final thing I want to mention quickly before going into our final storyline. Remember the name, Hyu Lee. I mentioned him about a minute or so ago. Hyu Lee, the prospect we got back in the Michael Lorenzen deal with Philadelphia. Based off the early rumblings in spring training, that's a guy who's been impressing, and that's someone who might be making his big league debut sometime in 2025. That's pretty exciting. Maybe another option at third base. We will see. All right, third and final storyline that I'm watching for with the Tigers this spring. You know, I just talked about it a little bit with Casey Mize. You know how I mentioned earlier in the video that I can't quit on Casey Mize just yet, mostly because he's a former number 1 overall pick. You know where I'm going with this one. It is so hard for me to quit on Spencer Torkelson right now. It's for the same reason, like, former number 1 overall pick. And not just that, it was just in 2023 that he hit over 30 bombs and had nearly 100 RBIs. It was just last spring that we were going to spring training and thinking Torque was our first baseman of the future. It was just last spring. It is so hard for me to quit on Spencer Torkelson, former number 1 overall pick. It was just in 2023 that he had over 30 homers, nearly 100 RBIs. Like, I refuse to believe he is already cooked. I refuse to believe it. All right, if he struggles again in 2025, or if obviously he's not even on the team by like July or something, then obviously, yeah, it's like, all right, well, there goes the Torque era here in Detroit. But it is hard for me to quit on Spencer Torkelson right now. But the thing is, what is his role on this baseball team? And that's why he's my third biggest storyline that I'm watching for this spring. How is he going to perform? And what's his role potentially going to be on this team if he performs well enough to make the opening day roster? You know? Is he just going to be like a first base DH man kind of platoon guy? I mean, he's obviously not our starting first baseman anymore. That's Cole Keith's job now. What is Tork's role going to be on this baseball team? How is he going to look this spring? And just what is going on with Tork? Pretty much, let's just call it what it is. What is going on with Tork? How's he going to look this spring? What is his role potentially on this baseball team if he is to perform well enough to make the opening day roster? All right, there you go. I feel like I've been talking for way too long about Tigers spring training. So let's just wrap this up here, ladies and gentlemen. My 3 big storylines I'm watching for with the Tigers this spring. Starting rotation, who's going to win those final 2 starting rotation spots? Hopefully Job and Mize, we'll see. Third base, Jace Young, and then Spencer Torkelson. Those are my 3 big storylines that I'll be watching this spring for the 2025 Detroit Tigers. All right, I've been talking for way too long, so let's get out of here. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it as always. And as I said earlier in the video, if you are excited for more Tony D Tiger videos this season, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share with all your friends, all that good stuff. All right, I'll see you in the next video. As always, go Tigers, baby.